provided by
Pampers, the #1 pediatrician recommended brand, helps keep baby's skin dry and healthy. So every touch is as comforting as the first. Pampers, the #1 pediatrician recommended brand.
Because you know I'm all about that bass.
Meghan Trainor is
happening now.
The sun is finally out and it feels amazing outside. Low humidity. Tomorrow morning, though, it will be chilly, feeling a lot like fall. So I've got to look at those wake-up temperatures coming up soon and the latest on Hurricane Zeta set to make landfall soon.
We talked to some young adults who will be voting for the very first time in this year's election, and we take a look back on the youth's impact on past elections and how all of this could play into the presidential race this year.
Recent polling shows the coronavirus is a big concern for voters. I'm Nadia Romero in Washington. I'll explain how the Biden and Trump campaigns are dealing with the pandemic on the trail.
And a heartwarming reunion for one lost San Antonio dog. More on his long journey home. The News at 5 starts right now.
It is a beautiful day in San Antonio, but in certain places along the coast, they are battening down the hatches.
My relatives in Louisiana, nervous. Here, not so much.
Yeah, here it's beautiful. We finally saw the sun shine through. It was cloudy to start the day, but these weather watcher temperatures are honestly perfect, in my opinion. Take a look at some of those temperatures out there. 56 in Rock Springs, 65 in Eagle Pass, and 65 in Del Rio, 64 in Schertz, 67 in Floresville. A little bit closer into San Antonio, 65 in Universal City, 67 6 miles south of Lavernia, and 62 up in Bandera. But of course, Louisiana getting hit again, the 5th named storm making landfall this season in Louisiana. This is Hurricane Zeta, Category 2 hurricane just south of Louisiana, streaming fast at northeast at about 24 miles per hour. All of the latest on Zeta's track and, of course, our beautiful fall forecast coming up soon. Ursula?
Thank you, Sarah. First at 5, the numbers tell the story. Voters are engaged. They are turning out in record numbers for this year's election. And that's particularly true in one voting bloc, young voters.
In Texas, the youth vote is up more than 600%. Paul Venema with what some of those voters are saying tonight.
Since early voting began, the lines have been long, and they include a growing number of people under the age of 30, many enthusiastic about casting ballots for the first time.
I think everyone should go out and vote, even though it might seem like a minor thing and it doesn't count at the end of the day, it does.
That's the message college students like Genesis Delisanti are getting, especially from fellow students.
I've never seen campus forces organized to such an extent to encourage and facilitate young people, our students, registering and voting.
Voting young voters tell me because they have concerns that did not exist during the last presidential election.
With COVID right now, it's making more people want to go out and do something for the country because we're kind of going through a lot of situations that we want to get taken care of.
The pandemic isn't the only concern of young voters.
I think there are a lot of other social issues that are much more prevalent now, more than ever, that I think that young voters are really paying attention to more than they did in the past.
The important thing, he said, is get involved.
With everything going on with COVID, it felt like it was really important to make sure that I did my part.
According to Professor Crockett, young people are simply more aware of the issues.
Young voters are more attuned to things like climate change and those issues since they see this as a question that's going to affect their future.
It's hard to say which candidate will benefit most from the youth vote, but one thing is certain, they're involved and they're convinced that their vote will make a difference. Paul Venema, KSAT 12 News.
We are less than a week away from Election Day, and one seat that voters will decide on is the Precinct 1 Bexar County Commissioner. Current Commissioner Chico Rodriguez lost in the Democratic primary to Becky Clay Flores, who's up against Republican Gabe Lara. Both candidates say it was time for a change. Flores could be one of 2 women on Commissioner's Court if she's elected.
Growing up here in San Antonio in the inner city, and seeing the growth of San Antonio, yet seeing certain parts of town continuing to be left behind, I was just really tired of having what I considered an elected official who wasn't going to bat for the community.
There's a lot of people that want change. We want responsiveness. We want a county commissioner that's going to be out here in the community asking, hey, what do you need? How do you want your tax dollars spent?
You can learn more about both candidates right now on our website, KSAT.com. And here at KSAT, we're preparing to give you the latest and best coverage of the 2020 election, both on air and online. Here's a look at our live stream lineup. We have Election Day previews Monday, Tuesday morning, and results and reaction Tuesday night, election night. Then we recap everything you need to know Wednesday morning and again at 7 p.m. You can watch any and all of these live streams on KSAT.com on your phone or on the KSAT TV app, streaming on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, and much more.
Now on to the race for the White House. With 6 days away from Election Day, President Trump is in Arizona, continuing his battleground state swing to garner more votes.
His Democratic challenger Joe Biden off the campaign trail, receiving a health briefing. It's a key reminder of the one thing that may define the 2020 race: the coronavirus pandemic.
Nadia Romero is in Washington with more on the impact of COVID-19 on the election.
Well, Ursula and Steve, when you look at the numbers, Texas has the second highest total coronavirus cases in the country. But we know that's not stopping Texans from getting out and early voting. Already 8 million or so Texans have already cast their ballots. That makes up 91% of the total ballots cast in 2016. It's significant. And both campaigns will be making multiple visits to the Lone Star State over the next 6 days.
As President Trump holds rallies with cheering supporters,
that's a lot of people.
Joe Biden is off the campaign trail, attending a virtual discussion on the COVID pandemic.
It's going to take a lot of hard work to end this pandemic. I'm not running on the false promise of being able to end this pandemic by flipping a switch.
The president insists
we're turning that corner, and it's been pretty amazing.
But the numbers and health experts tell a different story.
I think that the big issue, there doesn't seem to be an end in sight.
Data from Johns Hopkins University shows just this month, 29 states have set records for the most new daily cases since the pandemic began.
I think it will be easily by the end of 2021 and perhaps even into the next year before we start having some semblances of normality.
Voters are adapting to a new normal, many casting ballots in a different way this year. Already, the 2020 early vote total is about half of the 2016 turnout. It's driven in large part due to young voters.
We've seen an increase in the number of people asking questions about how to get registered to vote and trying to get registered to vote.
Early voters are more likely to be Democrats, which is why the pandemic-era president presses ahead in swing states, hoping to convince every last supporter to cast a ballot, despite the coronavirus crisis.
So remember billionaire Michael Bloomberg, the former New York City mayor? Well, he has a super PAC that's just given Joe Biden's campaign $15 million for TV ads in Texas and Ohio. President Trump is calling on the Republican National Convention to help him with TV ads, but they don't have near as much money as the former vice president. Live from Washington, I'm Nadia Romero. Steve, back to you.
Nadia, appreciate it. Thank you. And new at 5, the Bexar County Sheriff's Office introducing a new type of training to help de-escalate tense situations. It's called the Calm Approach, designed to lessen the chance for injuries for both deputies and civilians and encourage rational decision making. Today, BCSO learned the lateral recovery restraint, which has been medically approved to prevent injuries and serious medical complications. BCSO is the first law enforcement agency to implement this training. It was created in San Antonio with hopes of it becoming a national standard.
Like most big events in 2020, the local Martin Luther King Jr. March in 2021 will now be virtual due to COVID-19 concerns. The commission making that decision last month, and today they announced more details on what this virtual event will look like. Renee Watson, the MLK Commission chair, says they are partnering with San Antonio Parks and Recreation in getting people to recreate the almost 3-mile route in their own neighborhoods. The main component of the virtual event will be a film. It is based on the impact of what many believe is to be the largest MLK march in the U.S.
What we want to do is to say in 2022, we want to look back at this film. We want to share this film around the country, around the world, and say it's time to go to San Antonio to join in this march.
Watson says the film will air on the holiday. It is meant to make you feel like you're at Pittman Sullivan Park. She's encouraging local artists and entertainers, food vendors, and organizations to get involved by visiting their section on the city's website. That's sanantonio.gov/MLK.
Also going virtual, Senior Planet's First Day of the Dead observance. Known for its efforts to help bridge the digital divide for older adults, Senior Planet this week began a series of free virtual events on its Facebook page. Each session is about a different aspect, like creating altars with photos and mementos of a cherished someone who's passed away. Organizers with Senior Planet and the San Antonio Public Library say they're highlighting Dia de los Muertos in hopes of teaching others about the centuries-old tradition by using technology.
It's a wonderful moment, I think, for us as technology trainers working on closing the digital divide and also bringing our community together at the same time.
The complete schedule of free virtual events through November 2nd is on the Senior Planet website and on their Facebook page. No membership is needed, but anyone over the age of 60 can join Senior Planet for free.
Time and distance could not weaken the bond between a local woman and her Chihuahua. On Sunday, Debbie Vasquez drove all the way to Fort Lauderdale, Florida for a reunion.
He looks very sad, very skinny, but so happy to have him back in our family.
Can you imagine? King is now 15 years old. He's been missing for more than 6 years. But luckily, he had a microchip. And on Sunday, the Humane Society of Broward County in Fort Lauderdale called Vasquez to tell her he'd been found safe. Vasquez and her daughter then took off for the more than 20-hour drive to go pick him up. Now they're urging this moment to urge all dog owners to make sure their pets are microchipped. Plus, if you're in the market for a rice cooker, we are going to break down the best brands that are worth your money. Right now, there is no FDA-approved vaccine for COVID-19, but researchers are racing to create one. It's not a simple process at all.
It's a complicated process. Each step of creating a vaccine involves a lot of small details, each of which take time.
And at the end of the day, that's really what you want, a vaccine that not only is efficacious, but also is safe.
Dr. Jennifer Pencarba knows all about vaccines in her role at NC State's Biomanufacturing Training and Education Center. She says the first step is design. Here, researchers learn about the virus, how it spreads, attacks, and takes over the body. Once that's understood, scientists can then find a place to stop the virus along its pathway.
So that's what companies are trying to do, trying to use genetic materials to help the body find their path to the pathogen.
Next comes manufacturing. First, what's called upstream process, where she says researchers grow cells and produce the vaccine component or active ingredient that'll be put into the vaccine. It then goes to the downstream process, where the vaccine component is purified, separated, and put in its final formulation, one that is stable, ready to use, and easy to transport.
And that's how you end up with a vaccine in a vial or in a syringe that travels around the world in a fairly stable manner.
Not so easy, right? The FDA says safety and effectiveness are the top priorities for COVID-19 vaccine. The agency's commissioner said this week that the process takes time because at each step of the way, the FDA wants to analyze that data.
It is a kitchen staple for most of us, rice cookers. The appliances can make dinner prep much easier if you get the right one. 12 News Side's Marilyn Moritz looks at which brands are worth the investment.
In my house, my mother would always say, it's not a meal unless there's rice.
Now, Patty Chang Anchor shares the rice tradition with her own children.
I use this for long grain rice for Chinese food, sushi rice for Japanese food, brown rice for European food, and porridge for comfort food.
Consumer Reports tested 6 rice cookers from popular brands, ranging in price from $20 to $270. They rated not only how good the rice was, but energy efficiency, speed, and how easy the cooker was to use and clean.
An ideal batch was cooked evenly from top to bottom, with soft, fluffy grains and no pockets of mushy or crunchy rice.
The biggest difference was the time they took to make a batch. For white rice, it ranged from 20 to 45 minutes, and for brown rice, 30 to 90 minutes. So here are their top picks. This Zoji Rushi scored the highest and cost the most. It uses induction technology to heat up, so it's not just hot on the bottom. For a lot less money, the Instant Zest 8-cup rice cooker has simple controls and turns out very good rice that's on the sticky side. Some cookers have only one setting, but others specify different types of grains.
One model we tested even has a sauté function in case you wanted to soften some onions and garlic before throwing in your rice.
Marilyn Moritz, KSAT 12 News.
That would be kind of perfect to have this week for some gumbo.
Oh, yeah, especially in the mornings, you know.
I'm just very happy to see the sun.
Yeah,
yes,
After
it's so
a couple
pretty.
days without it, it's good to have the sun back.
That is a beautiful shot of Sky 12 there over downtown, and you can see the sun shining out there. It is nice to see the sun. We've had a couple of days here of cloudy weather, and yesterday, of course, was very cold. We only got up to 45 degrees, but today, with the sun's help, we were able to see the 60s. We started off cloudy, however. Here's a look at the time lapse, and then boom, instant blue skies out there. It was a gorgeous day today. A high temperature of 67. 17 degrees cooler than our average low. Overnight, we had some light rain that amounted to 0.08 of an inch of rainfall at the airport, so not much, but at least something. It's been a pretty dry October. On the satellite imagery, you can see that it's still cloudy out there for areas near Houston, and they're in the 50s. Meanwhile, 66 in San Antonio, 67 in Del Rio, 71 in Getula, 67 in Hondo. But of course, the big story tonight is Hurricane Zeta, which made landfall just west of Grand Isle near Cocodrie as a Category 2 hurricane. Winds are sustained at 110 miles per hour with gusts up to 130 miles per hour right near that eye wall. And we've been seeing these gusts fluctuate there. Near Galeano, we saw wind gusts of up to 81 miles per hour, and New Orleans is currently under the gun. You can see that eye wall there. The eye wall is the strongest part of any hurricane, and right now New Orleans is about to get the worst part of this storm as far as wind gusts go. Already reporting some wind gusts out there of 80 miles per hour, but I suspect that that'll go up as that eye wall approaches the city of New Orleans in Lake Pontchartrain. Now, Hurricane Zeta is moving quickly, 25 miles per hour to the north-northeast. That may not sound that quick, but it's very quick for a hurricane. It'll actually become a tropical storm by the overnight hours and already be into parts of Alabama. And because this storm is so fast moving, tropical storm warnings extend all the way up to Asheville, North Carolina, which is very impressive. Again, it's going to be fast moving. It'll be out of the United States within the next 48 hours, but still an impressive late season hurricane currently making landfall in Louisiana. Meanwhile, here in Texas, we still have some snow around that low pressure system, but here in San Antonio, that's bringing in some very dry air. That's what this orange color is. And what that means for us is beautiful weather over the next few days. In fact, it's chapstick weather out there right now with these dry conditions, dew points in the 30s. Feels like a desert. And so you think about desert, it gets cold in the mornings and comfortable in the afternoons, sometimes a little bit warm in the afternoons, but here in San Antonio, we'll be comfortable in the afternoon. Tonight, it's going to be gusty winds gusting up to 20 miles per hour, and chilly will already be in the 40s by midnight. Waking up tomorrow, 39 in Kerrville, 39 in Hondo, 42 in Eagle Pass, 42 in New Braunfels, and 41 in Gonzales. In the afternoon, really nice. Up temperatures in the upper 60s, a lot like today. Total sunshine, low 70s to the southwest of San Antonio. In San Antonio tomorrow, starting off cold at 42, 61 at noon, 68 for the afternoon high. Winds will be breezy. from the northwest, gusting up to 30 miles per hour, and then chilly in the evening hours. Look at this beautiful fall-like forecast over the next several days. Chilly mornings, afternoon high temperatures in the 70s. It's going to be one of those weeks and weekends where you'll want to dress in layers because you'll need the coat in the morning and, maybe short sleeves in the afternoon.
Those are my kind of weekends. That's beautiful. No sweat.
Nice temperatures. All right. COVID making headlines in the sports world again.
And if you're going to have it pop up during a week that's your bye week, is probably the best for the Houston Texans, who do to have one player test positive. When we come back, more about what they're doing to get back to their facility, which they're now locked out of, and the World Series ending with a twist. Coming up.
Pro football coverage, powered by Davis Law Firm.
The Houston Texans have shut down their facility for a deep cleaning after being informed that one of their players have tested positive for the coronavirus. This comes on the Texans' bye week after starting their season a dismal 1-6 along the way, firing their head coach and general manager Bill O'Brien. The Texans releasing a statement today saying the player immediately self-isolated, that their infection control officer and other members of the infection response team began working with the NFL to perform contact tracing. Here's the rest of their statement in part. We're in close consultation with the NFL as well as our team of independent doctors and specialists, and will follow the guidance regarding our scheduled bye-week operations. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones told us there will be personnel changes made this week, and he wasn't kidding. They began last night with the trading of Everson Griffin to the Detroit Lions for a conditional 6th-round draft pick in 2021, and the house cleaning on the Dallas D continued today. Both defensive tackle Dontari Poe, who just signed this season with the Cowboys, and cornerback Darryl Worley were told they would be released, and the Cowboys cannot trade them today. That's according to the NFL Network, and it comes as players return to get ready for their showdown with the Eagles in Philadelphia. Head coach Mike McCarthy says the locker room shakeup is not about sending any messages.
They know clearly, how I feel as far as, the process of where the team needs to get to and how we're going to do it. It's, this business is about opportunity and making the best of your opportunity. And that's really, what all the personnel decisions will come down to.
The Eagles lead the NFC East with a 2-4-1 record. Kickoff Sunday night is set for 7:20. The Los Angeles Dodgers are World Series champions for the first time since 1988. That's after they were able to knock out the Tampa Bay Rays in Game 6 in Arlington. The turning point came in the 6th inning when Rays manager Kevin Cash pulled starter Blake Snell had only given up 1 run on just 2 hits. That's all the Dodgers needed. Nick Anderson came in as relief, and L.A. took off. A fielder's choice scored the go-ahead run, and then Mookie Betts iced it with a solo home run, and the Dodgers take it by a final score of 3-1.
It just means everything. I was traded for to help get us over the hump, and so I just use that as my fuel.
So very thankful that we get to be on the team that is bringing back a World Series to the Dodger fans after 32 years.
Happy for him. But then a bizarre ending to the baseball season during the COVID-19 pandemic. Justin Turner was told he had just tested positive, told to self-isolate, only to return to the field during the game for the post-game celebration. Now what happens?
Yikes.
Yes.
But back to the Dodgers winning. That's the first championship they've won since the Kirk Gibson home run.
Yes.
That long ago.
Oral Hershiser, all of our friends from San Antonio. Right, you got it.
Thanks, Greg.
We'll be right back. Thanks so much for watching the News at 5 with us.
The World News up next. We'll see you back here at 6.